Recently, I spent time with two men with whom I'd had a close relationship for several years. They both expressed how much my counsel had helped them stop being mama's boys. Both of these guys are over 40, and all through their life they'd purposely avoided male authority and correction. But once the truth of the Hebraic foundations penetrated their heart, each one realized he needed to change.
The mama's boy epidemic in this country is a fruit of a feminized public education. An underlying feminist goal is to minimize the influence of fathers in the lives of their children and families.
So much of a young boy's life is surrounded by women. Do you know how hard it is for a boy to sit quietly and listen, especially in a classroom setting?
The National Education Association has just about succeeded in its humanist-based agenda. A godless, amoral society in which the biblical family as God designed it is destroyed.
Our Lord purposed for marriage to fulfill an intent that's dear to His heart. He was seeking godly offspring. Since God's goal is to produce godly generations, Satan is the opposite. And his ally is godless public education.
We encourage you to see our Hebraic article, He Has Showed You, for more on our Lord's perspective on raising godly generations.
Much of contemporary Western Christianity has followed the example of public education. Most young men are distanced from meaningful older male role models. Can you see the tragedy here?
Legions of young men who've had limited or no healthy relationship with godly men are having children themselves. They have no idea how to effectively parent them.
When we discuss Hebraic home fellowship families in later lessons, you'll discover how necessary intergenerational access for both men and women is.
Younger men in particular can learn from mature men who've already passed through earlier stages of development and maturation. The mature have gleaned wisdom from their victories as well as their setbacks.
How do you recognize a mama's boy?
First, he's always looking for recognition in everything he does. His motive may be camouflaged, but it's there all the same. Mama, Mama, look at me! And Mama might be his wife, his boss, or even his buddies.
Second, he consistently looks for people who will empathize when his feelings are hurt. He often has a hangdog expression when things don't go his way. He's waiting for someone to ask what's wrong so he can get their emotional support. He'll do anything to avoid the accountability and confrontation that a mature man would give him.
Third, he's controlled and manipulated by the women in his life. He's fearful of displeasing them, and he can't face the turmoil that any confrontation with them might bring.
So many mama's boys are prisoners in their own marriage. They fear their wife more than they fear God. Over time, the spouse of a mama's boy becomes more his mother than his wife.
Mothering with fear and control.
Group K has produced an epidemic of women who are blinded by domination, manipulation, and a resistant spirit.
When the K woman marries, she'll often choose to mother her husband rather than fulfill her biblical role as her husband's life companion and helper.
This woman is plagued by fear and control. She's hindered from seeing the whole picture of things going on around her. This causes her to unintentionally hurt the feelings of people close to her.
Circle A represents the sum of variables the K woman is willing to pay attention to. She sees life only from her own narrow vantage point, and she's unwilling to receive input from anyone else. She's also reluctant to fully yield to men in authority.
The totality of variables that affect a particular situation are contained in Circle B. All of the variables represented by B must be taken into consideration in order to make wise decisions. Then everyone involved can benefit.
You can can recognize a K wife or mother because her circle A is like a hoop that others must jump through. In other words, she frames in her mind the only way that others can please her.
Even if you have the most loving intentions, if you approach her or show her kindness outside of her A hoop, she can't receive it. All that she perceives as loving is her circle's reference point, and she's unappreciative if you missed it.
Now that you have some fresh insights, please answer these questions. Discuss your answers with your spouse or others who are close to you in the faith.
In the diagram, how the influence of fathers on children affects their adulthood. Discuss the path of your own life using the appropriate letter code. Ours was B to E to F.
Describe the key events and circumstances that got you where you are today. Include any meaningful people and their impact on your life.
If you're in Group K, can you look back and see God's attempts through particular encounters or situations to help you change?
Almost all the senior adults with whom we speak are in Group K. Their desire for the pleasures of retirement seduced them, even those who once were on the A to D to I path. If you're one of these seniors, describe how you got enticed into self-gratification.
If you're a parent or grandparent, talk about your history with your children and grandchildren and what they can learn from your life choices.
On a spectrum, would you consider your faith community to be biblically conservative or secularly liberal?
If you're a man, do you have close relationships with other men who are able and willing to confront you if need be?
Recall our description of a mama's boy. Do any of the statements apply to you? Yes or no? If yes, in what ways do they apply? And how has your mama's boy status compromised your other relationships?
Do your children show more respect to your wife than they do to you?
To whom do your kids go for permission?
Do they or your wife ever hide information from you or go around your back to get their way?
Are you able to love your wife as Jesus would, no matter how she treats you? Yes or no? If yes, how do you demonstrate this level of love to her?
When you're hurt by your spouse, do you withhold affection from him or her? Or do you go to Jesus for the strength to love your spouse even if he or she never changes? Describe your response when you've been hurt by your spouse.
If you're a woman, does any of the Group K mothering description apply to you? Yes or no? If yes, describe your interaction with your husband, your children, or close friends.
Do you often fail to see the whole picture? Ask others close to you for input.
Are you a woman who tends to mother her husband? Do you take control of areas in which the Bible has assigned him responsibility? In particular, are you anxious about family finances?
Has it occurred to you that your control is destroying the intimacy in your marriage? Are you willing to cry out to God for inner change in your heart?
Can your husband give you input without feeling apprehensive about your response? Do you always have to get your own way? Or do you concede, but pout or withdraw affection?
Do your decisions really consider the feelings and values of others? See Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1.
Are you a woman who can't trust your husband because of your past? Are you quick to point out faults in your husband or in other men, thinking, "Isn't that just like a man?"
Are you a meddling mother-in-law? Have you had a hand in hindering or dissolving the marriage covenant of one of your children? What do you need to do about this?
As we've mentioned before, everything is possible in Jesus. You need an accurate appraisal of where you are on your life's pilgrimage. Then you can cooperate with Him and others in the faith to make the changes you need for Christ's likeness.
Take your eyes off your past and what you believe you didn't deserve. Put aside all false expectation and presumption that you deserve better.
And press on into all the grace available to you. Your only goal is to be conformed to the character of Jesus.